This our third tape. But listen, man, Ivan, you was talking crazy. Don't start laughing. You bugging.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
But you said something wasn't a real debate. I don't even want to go here because it's such an age-old debate.
It's not a real debate. I said that the LeBron-Jordan conversation is not and won't be a real conversation. It's not a real debate. It does not exist. We can go and look at the numbers of what Jordan did throughout his career before he got help and after he got help. It does not compare. It doesn't compare. It's not a comparable career. Jordan won 3 straight championships twice. LeBron James arguably had the best two-guard in the league at the time, the third best power forward, and they got beat by the Dallas Mavericks. My team, actually. I watched that championship. LeBron James averaged 14.9 points a game that series. Jordan would never do that in the finals. And just with that just being said, it's not a debate. He chose that team. Jordan's teams had to be grown organically, and he still found ways to win. So it's not a debate. It's not even close to a debate. Now, is LeBron James an absolutely phenomenal basketball player? He absolutely is. He's a great basketball player. But we got to stop this. It's not debatable. It's not. You're not going to say any one person is not going to be like, man, shoot, I'd rather take LeBron's career over Jordan's career. Never. Ever.
There is a whole army that will say yes to that point.
Yeah, but
now, me and you may not agree with them, but I'm just saying.
But why would they say yes to that? I think because they drank Jim Jones Kool-Aid, but
well, they got some stats they can put out there. They can put out there too. The only thing I said about the point that I was about to shop earlier was I think it is a debate. Also, you could put Kobe in that conversation as well, and some others. I just lean on the side of Jordan. That's all. But I do believe LeBron deserves consideration in that conversation because of his own stats. But I hear you.
Consideration in the conversation, but an actual real debate about it. I mean, it's a clear 1, 2, 3. It's a clear 1, 2, 3.
Is the podcast over?
And I definitely. You don't want to know my 1, 2, 3.
I just don't,
because my 1, 2, 3 is actually going. It's Jordan, LeBron,
well,
then Kobe.
Go ahead. You already
Jordan,
talking.
LeBron, then Kobe. Jordan, LeBron, then Kobe.
Do you hear yourself? You just said he's your 1, 2, 3, and you said it's not a debate. So it's not a debate between 1 and 2.
No, it's not a debate between 1 and 2.
I'm not doing this anymore. My blood pressure.
It's a wide gap.
I'm not doing this anymore.
It's a wide gap. The gap is wide.
The gap is wide, Ivan.
Absolutely. Come on, man.
So tonight, guys, we're
how
going
many
to talk
times
about.
have you been to the finals?
Huh?
How many times have LeBron been to the finals?
You said it's not a debate.
No, I'm asking you a question. I'm just curious. How many times have you been to the finals?
Who?
LeBron.
You know how many times he's been to the finals.
No, I don't.
You keep telling me it's not a debate.
I actually forgot.
You forgot? So why you say it's not a debate then?
I know why I forgot. Because he's probably lost more than he won. Okay. All right.
I think he practiced it.
We can continue.
I think he was in the mirror like, I'm going to get him with this one.
I'm just saying.
Was that a setup question or something?
No. I mean, it was.
I get my lines right.
Well, y'all are bugging. Listen, man. But listen, I ain't even talking about that debate right now. But what we was talking about on the more friendlier level, I'm going to let Alvin get his rocks off on that one. Steph Curry. I think right now it's looking like they may win the chip. And, man, I'm happy for Steph Curry.
Yeah,
I believe,
absolutely.
He's one of the genuine guys in the league. He's done so much for basketball. He's elevated the game. He's transcended the game. I think this 4th championship ring, Keegan, is going to be very, very significant. There's been questions in the past about, his rings. Even in 2015, people questioned that Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love wasn't there. So I'm not going to say we was talking about it earlier. I'm not going to say it put an asterisk on it, but people did question it. In 2016, you seen why people questioned it because when they got back, they lost in Game 7. 2017 and 18, obviously, they went and got KD. So I think Steph Curry has really never had the opportunity to answer the question that people was asking. And I think tonight he's answered that question in great fashion, man. And it's good to see a guy like this, a underdog, somebody that played at Davidson, somebody who had to really come up from the ranks. Although his dad was an NBA player, nobody had Steph on their all-time board. And now, here's the question, guys: if Steph wins this ring, is he top 10?
Boy, I think so. I think so.
You've been talking crazy, but now you back to yourself now.
No,
I think it's your hair. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think it's the hair. Nigga get a hairdo and he's just all of a sudden he's different.
Yeah.
You're different now.
he real different. I mean, the first unanimous MVP ever, back to back, and what he's done for the game. Now he's changed the game a lot.
No question.
I won't say whether or not it's in a good way or a bad way, but one of the things that we know about the greats, Shaquille O'Neal, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, when the greats hit the game, they change the game.
They do.
And those guys are all on that Mount Rushmore. All of those guys are in that top 10. So I think Steph from that.
And I think the thing that puts Steph, and you have to start really talking about the top 10 and doing some rearranging now, because Steph is what we call the greatest shooter of all time. And the gap between the greatest shooter of all time and the second one is a large one, and arguably it could be Klay Thompson. And we see the difference when they're on the court game by game. So, when you look at that, Keegan, when you factor all that in, and then you got to think about it, this team was drafted. This team was not, this was not one of those fly-by-night things. Steph is a 6'3" guard. Originally I had Isaiah Thomas in front of Steph, but now I can't. Yeah. Because now I'm seeing what Steph doing, transcending the game in so many different ways. Don't get me wrong, Isaiah Thomas in this time was absolutely incredible and beat some legends too, and beat all three of them, Magic, Michael, and Bird. So absolutely. You gotta give him some leeway on that. But when you look at Steph, Keegan, what has Steph been able to do to the game that impresses you the most?
He made the 3-point shot a layup. For him, it's a layup.
It's no question.
Right? Wow. And I think when we use the word transcend, I think that's what he did. Right? Now, to Ivan's point, now everybody wants to do it. Now we have people in the office looking at the analytics and the analytics say, shoot this amount of threes, right? Because of the point production you can get from that attempt. That's because of Steph, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think when you transcend any game, whether you're playing basketball, football, baseball, hockey, whatever it is, and you do it at a clip that gets you championships, not just numbers on your stat sheet, you got to be looked at in the top 10 from my perspective. And you brought up a great point about that team is an organically built team.
It is.
So everybody that you mentioned about where the possible asterisks might come from were acquisition ball clubs. When I got talent to put together something that can actually compete with this organically built team. And for me, I think that's what's most impressive about the Golden State Warriors. It's culture, i.e. San Antonio Spurs, right? It's culture, it's built from within, ground up, and you can't move that. That you have to wait for that to evolve out.
Absolutely.
You're not going to move that, or injury takes place. We see when injury takes place what happens to them.
Absolutely.
But when they're all hunting in the same direction, and their big three pretty much is Steph, Klay, and Dre, from the first one to now this particular fourth one. They're built organically, drafted in the same organization, nowhere else. To me, that's the most impressive thing about those.
Absolutely.
To your point about Steph, I think he made the 3-point shot a layup.
Yeah, and I think when you look at, Steph, around Steph, a system was created. Because that's what beats you against Golden State, their system, their ball movement, and for a superstar to be able to move without the ball the way he does, his movement. We don't talk about his physical prowess, his conditioning. Yeah. People just underrate that. Do you understand how hard it is to keep running around the basketball court? Yeah. He does that all game. That's a super skill. Everybody don't have that.
That's like running 3 miles.
Yeah. Now I will say this about that. You have people who had that in the past who was just not like him. So you had the Reggie Millers of the world.
Yeah, Reggie Miller ran around. Rip Hamilton. They did that, but theirs were it was a micro dose, I think, compared to Steph, because how they do it, how they run Steph. Because Steph, they'll shoot the ball. If they miss it, the person that catch it stops. Steph will run back down, run all the way back to the sideline, and they'll handle the ball. So it's like the other team knows that they're hunting Steph's shot, and he still gets it off.
But Steph has 2 to 3 versions of the same play if you stop the first
Absolutely.
time. Like when you talk about Reggie Miller and Rip Hamilton, stop the first time, they go somewhere with the basketball. Right? Steph just keeps moving. Right? So it's 3 or 4 versions of that particular play to get him open. That's why he can get open after so many particular moves. But to your point, and even with that said, no one produced at the 3-point line like he did.
No.
You just think about the pace in which he broke the 3-point shot record at this stage of his career. He still got some years left. So let's be clear. I don't think they're going anywhere as far as their competition level. Now, they will have some more people to go through next year, but I think they're still going to be formidable in the future as well.
And I think when you look at, where Steph goes, in my opinion, I think, you got to put him in the top 10.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think you got to take Larry Bird out.
Ooh.
I think you got to take Larry Bird out.
So what do you have for your top 10? I'm just curious.
LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, Magic, Oscar, Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, Wilt Chamberlain, and now Steph Curry.
Wow. You don't have Shaquille O'Neal on your list. Okay.
Who did I take? Hold on. I took out.
You said 9, so you took off Larry. So
I took off Larry.
So Shaq would be your 10.
Shaq. So Shaq would be. I would put Shaq 10 because here's how you measure it. Wilt Chamberlain and Shaq are competing to be the most dominant. When you look at Kobe Bryant, he does the same thing as Michael Jordan, so he's not even the best at his position. Oscar Robertson stands in a place of his own because of what he was able to do. Because you got to think about the triple-double back then and how he dominated the game. Bill Russell, 13 championships. He was a player and a coach. That's unheard of for what Bill Russell did. And then when you talk about Tim Duncan, 5 championships. He's the anchor of all those championships. So you can't really take those guys out.
And the best power forward to ever play the game.
And that's why I say either people call me crazy, but I think Kobe is top 10. But if you're talking about just by position, if you did it by position, I'm not sure if Kobe would be there because Jordan's there.
Kobe's in that 10. He's in my 10.
But he's in my top 10, though.
Yeah,
Kobe's in my top 10.
So now you get with preference, right, Ivan? I would say, and I might sound crazy for saying this, but for me, I don't know. I have Hakeem because being dominant and being the best is 2 different words.
I got you.
While Shaq was dominant, you can't teach 7 foot, 19,000 pounds. You can't teach that, right? Yeah. But what Hakeem had, the skill that he had.
Shaq had skill too, though.
Comparable. Let's talk about him and this man right here, Hakeem.
I think Hakeem
compared to Hakeem, as Ivan would say so eloquently, it's not a debate.
You talking about like player for player?
Player for skill, player
Shaq
for
was
player.
a better athlete than Hakeem. Oh,
next subject, please. Yeah.
Shaq wasn't a better athlete than Hakeem?
No.
You bugging. Hakeem was, I'll give you skill. I said, I'll give you more skill.
Have you watched
Shaq
Hakeem?
was a super athlete,
Hold on, bro. Hold.
Orlando Shaq?
Get up. Houston Cougars, Hakeem Olajuwon? Nah, bro. You said, nah, bro. Nah.
Hakeem Olajuwon,
I would say this.
He punished him in the playoffs.
Go back and watch Fly Slamma Jamma, Houston Cougars. And I'm telling you, you would change that.
7'1", 330 pounds, running the court like a guard, bro. Come on, man.
That was
Shaq
Hakeem
just wouldn't
too.
do it. Shaq, listen, bro. I know people like to think Shaq was just catching the ball and bowling over people, but that was skill. That was supreme foot. Now, Keem had better. I'm not saying Keem wasn't better. Keem was more skillful, but it is a debate though, because we watch his dominance and we underrated skill.
Oh no, I'm not going.
That's all I'm saying.
Because I've seen Shaq bring the ball up the court and make passes. I'm not saying it's not a debate. What I am saying though is athleticism and skill set. Hakeem's the better athlete and has better skill set than Shaq. And guess what? And you know what? Shaq has said it. Shaq has said it.
I don't think he's a better athlete. I think he's a better player. I think he was a better player at a certain time. I think peak Hakeem would not beat peak Shaq. 2001 Shaq dominates 1995 Hakeem.
Steve. Peak Tim Duncan has Shaq on skates.
Shaq got 3 rings.
What they got to do with anything?
Shaq got what you mean? Shaq went through him twice, 2 or 3 times. What do you mean?
What does that mean?
No, I ain't saying Shaq the best defender now. I'm not saying that.
Let's back up for a second. Tim Duncan got rings too.
He does.
He may not have won them.
He got
over
more than Shaq. He got more than
but
Shaq.
he got
He
rings
got more
too.
than Shaq.
Don't act like he ain't got rings. But my point is, Tim Duncan had Shaq on skates when they actually played against it, and Shaq even said it. I'm going by Shaq's words, not my own. Shaq said Tim Duncan is the big fundamental, and Tim Duncan got his whole footwork game from Hakeem Olajuwon.
No, I'm not. Listen, what I'm saying is Shaq, to me, is a better athlete because he's look how big he is and the stuff that he can do on the court. All I'm saying is the stuff that he can do. Akeem couldn't do everything Shaq can do, and Shaq couldn't do everything Akeem can do.
That's a fair point.
All I'm saying is I would take peak Shaq was more dominant than peak Akeem.
That I want the word dominant. I would give you, but as far as skilled basketball player, there was nothing like Hakeem Olajuwon.
I'll give you skill.
There was nothing like Hakeem Olajuwon, and I'm sorry if I'm playing ball, yeah, I can get me a big ogre in the.
See, that's the misconception about Shaq. That's my point.
I was being tongue in cheek. My point is, if Hakeem did not get the PR that he should have got because of Jordan.
Or
this is what it was.
And the international game wasn't as developed as it was.
Wasn't. But I'm telling,
absolutely,
bro, I'm telling you, Hakeem Olajuwon was special.
He was the number one pick
Special,
in the Jordan draft.
Bruh.
So you ain't getting no argument from me with Akeem. I did, when you look at them, but head to head, Akeem got him. So it is what it is. But speaking of special, man, one of my favorite artists in the whole world is Frank Sinatra. I'm a classical guy by nature. I mean, I love hip hop, but what plays on my radio is classical music. It calms me down, gives me a sense of just meditation. I love to meditate and think and be introspective on a lot of things and just about what goes on in my life. And that music kind of calms my spirit down. But I love Frank Sinatra, man. And one of the songs he echoed that still lives in eternity right now is I Did It My Way. I think that's a
timeless classic.
It is.
I don't
man.
care who you are.
It's
absolutely.
And I think that's where we, because I posed a question on the chat today. Does caring too much hurt or help? And I talked about the song My Way because, going through life, Keegan, it's important. People will run you ragged and run you into the ground if you ain't living your life by your standards and by your expectations. Because ultimately you're going into the box alone and doing things your way, not in a selfish way, but taking care of you first. And we always talk about self-care. We always talk about, taking care of ourselves. But a lot of men don't get to have that broad discussion sometimes about how it's important to take care of yourself and do things your way. And you don't get caught up in caring too much.
Yeah.
Because you're focused on the right things, man. And that song always, Keegan, it takes me there, man, because we talked about music a couple of weeks ago and the substance that lives in that music and how you're able to disseminate messages from music like that. And I was able to see when we was talking about caring, because we talked about it at the Hookah Lounge the other day, caring will get you in trouble. The person in a relationship who cares the least wins the most. I'm going to say it again. The person in a relationship that cares the least wins the most. And everybody's been on the receiving end of it, and everybody's been on the giving end of it, even if you don't want to admit it. Am I lying, Keegan? And it hurts to care. It sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah, it's not an absolute.
It's not an absolute. Yeah. But my God, I know people can feel me on this, man, because especially if you're a caring person.
Well, it only hurts to care. I only control, but it only hurts to care when you're not reciprocated. But when you receive in that same vein,
I agree. Yeah, I'm getting
that. Caring is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
What you're saying is absolutely correct. I want to make sure that we don't combine two different veins in that particular space.
Because obviously, so let's give some context. Obviously, if you are getting what you need in any form or fashion, or that's why I wanted to say the person in a relationship who cares the least. Because oftentimes we get into the caring match when we're dealing with somebody close to us. And it's a complicated thing. Caring is, you're giving your all to somebody, or you're giving your all to a friend, or even an entity or a job or whatever you're doing. You want that reciprocated energy.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. You want that positive energy back. But in lieu, if you don't get that positive energy back, you're stuck on the island of caring.
Yeah.
But when the only time you actually become dependent upon, or you actually seek that care, is when you actually haven't cared for yourself enough.
That's good, Ivan. Okay. Come on, Ivan.
And the reason why I say that is because the way that really is supposed to work, you're not supposed to care for them before you care for you. They're supposed to receive the overflow of the care that you have for you.
Okay. Is that a perfect world?
Is it a perfect world?
Because I mean
that's very idealistic.
It's
though.
idealistic.
Yeah, it's very idealistic.
I'll get because I'm like, oh yeah, that's sad. But when you get into the crevice of not just a relationship, but anything that you're doing, and that energy is not reciprocated back at you, then because you can't control the actions of others,
right? But you don't have to if you know that you've cared for you.
Even if you cared for you. So let's say this for example, even if you cared for you, is it possible for you to still get hurt, get
absolutely
neglected?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So how do we handle? Because that feels like the land of nothingness. It feels like it doesn't feel. It feels like I'm dropped off in the desert.
Yeah,
I mean that's a great point. Yeah.
And don't it feel like because you're trying to which way do I go?
Yeah.
And that is because where I'm having this conversation because I want to get to some nuances because what I don't want to happen is that when we go through that season that we just stop altogether and we turn resentful because that's what ends up happening. We lose ourselves. So much of our tank gets empty and then we stop communicating. We stop being who we are. That's why I say
because you're giving it all away.
Absolutely. And then when you stand on that island of caring so long, how do you get off of it? Yeah. How do you navigate that, Ivan? Because that you've been in that place of loneliness that we talked about where you still care because normally when you stop caring, what happens?
You stop giving.
You stop giving.
You stop, But
and not only that, sometimes you can become immobilized.
That's good. Come on, Keegan.
You just stop moving.
Come on.
Because when you stop caring, you just don't, I hate to say it, you let yourself go. You don't care about work. You don't care about career. You don't care about goals, none of that stuff. You just become immobilized.
You do.
But to your point, that's one I want to put context around because I want to make sure people understand that you're not saying don't care.
Correct.
That's not what you're saying.
Correct.
Right. I would say this to people: if you are a generous person,
now we get into it. Let's go.
If you're a generous person, make sure you set boundaries as a giver because the takers have none.
That's good.
And I think we've all been there.
That's good.
So we talk about caring for yourself, Ivan. You have to set boundaries as a generous person because more often than not, your heart is going to move in ways that your mind's not going to want you to go.
That's good.
Yeah. And we normally lean to that emotion
more
often than we come to caring. So you have to have boundaries. And the second thing I would say is you have to assess the people in your circle who you want to pour seed into. Yeah. Just being honest, you're not meant to serve everyone you come in contact with.
You're not.
Absolutely.
You have to assess, and I think we have gotten away from the assessing part of building relationships.
And to that, Keegan, giving people don't know how to decipher that. People who are generous, we have, like if you're a generous person and you like to give, that is one of the biggest things right there.
Yep.
How do you say no to somebody?
Yes.
Because if you say no, you feel guilty.
Yep, exactly.
They feel you like, oh, it's guy gonna get
that's
me.
A real thing,
that's a real thing.
Yeah. It's a real thing.
Real giving people go through because people do take your kindness for a weakness.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And let me say this. We've all done it because we're human.
No doubt. Yeah.
Humans are what we call opportunists. We are all motive driven in some way. We may not know we're doing it to people, and the people we're talking about may not even know that they're transmitting that type of energy towards you, but they just do it because you seem like a reliable source.
No question.
And because when you say yes to so many times, people get accustomed to that.
They do. They do.
And you get accustomed to, and let me talk about the givers too. Givers got egos and pride too, because you like the applause, you like the thank you, like them to do that. But when you want to get tired, come on now, you can't have it both ways.
That's true.
You got to set your boundary where it is. You can't be flailing with them, giving them everything, and then come to an abrupt stop and expect them to act like, oh, well, it's okay that you said no.
Yeah.
No, you train them.
Right.
People only go by the, listen, you get the behavior you accept.
True. And to your point, that's a great point.
That's
to your
good.
point,
That's good.
as a giver, make sure that if you're giving something, it is a gift.
Come on.
You don't do it with any strings attached, right? Be careful about that what's in your own mind and
Absolutely.
your heart, because you can get yourself heartbroken pretty quick, you know?
And we talked about this before on the pod. Like, for real, bro. Like, money, when you give somebody money or you give somebody something, like, just, if you ain't got it to give, don't give.
Don't give.
Like, you doing them a disservice. Let me tell you why you doing them a disservice. Because if I give you something and I know, first of all, you probably ain't got it. If I give you something and if I know you ain't got it, I'm not going to expect it back from you.
You should.
Because you ain't got it right now.
Yeah.
Because if you want to give it back, cool. But if you don't give it back, okay.
Yeah.
Because what that does, if I expect it back from you, now I'm putting a strain on our relationship.
You are, definitely.
Now we got to look at each other differently. You know what I mean? And it gets us in a place to, man, where we're dysfunctional and how we deal with each other.
That's fair.
And that's why, man, boundaries. That's why I say we got to start caring to a point. Like that's why I'm saying you got to do it your way, starting off. It got to be your way because it's your legacy. And this is not a selfish talk or individualized talk. You just can't be good, like you say, Ivan, for nobody if you don't know who you are.
Right.
And you'll be giving everything away, and then you're sitting in the chair when everything's gone and you're mad at them.
Yep.
Because that expectation that you're placing on the giving that you're doing.
Come on.
And you should never be placing an expectation on your giving. I mean, be a cheerful,
Cheerful giver.
uplifting,
Yep.
cheerful
Yep.
giver.
Cheerful
giver. And if you're not that type of giver, then maybe you're giving for the wrong reasons.
True.
Are you giving to
That's
be
good.
edified, or are you
There you
giving
go.
because it really came from your heart?
See, that's the question. You just said it again.
Are you giving to be edified, or are you giving it because it really came from your heart?
That's why I said givers be careful of your motive of giving, because you might want to hear the applause. And then if you don't get the correct response, and now, see, that's what it really is. You don't get the correct response out of somebody after you done gave. What were you doing it for then? Was
Facts.
it from your heart or from you, or you wanted some type of praise, some type of recognition? There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's something wrong, but when it goes sideways, don't start turning your energy towards them. Turn your energy towards decisions you made.
Yep.
And I think that'll help. That's why doing it your way is important. Not necessary. Your way may not be the only way, but you got to prioritize yourself.
You do.
You do. And so, man, I think in that vein, man, I wanted to talk about this too as well, kind of switching gears a little bit. There was something I was working on, was going to have a podcast maybe a couple of weeks ago. We didn't get to have it. I think we got it arguing. Yeah, we didn't shoot the
guns. But the guns, yeah.
the guns. But we talked about. I created something that's called the outcome review. What the outcome review is: every fully formulated thought should be subject to an outcome review. And what I mean by that is reaction versus response. That's all it is. I just gave it a name. And that's a very important aspect of how we deal in this chaotic society. Your response versus your reaction. Before I do something now, because I'm a reactor by nature. I'm by nature, I'm just a reactor. And I've noticed over my time, Keegan, my reactions and my impulses have gotten me in more trouble than I like to count. Because with reactions, you don't get the whole story when reacting. You react off of temporary emotion. The only thing I think one of the only things I think you should react to real quick is somebody slap you. Sorry about that, Will Smith.
Open hand, especially. Open hand, yeah.
But those reactions I understand because they're natural reaction. But, I found now, man, I do an outcome review, Keegan. Does it work all the time? Absolutely not. So let me put a disclaimer right there. I talked to you about this. If you touch any of my daughters, if you do anything like that, that harms my family, I'm gonna do an outcome review on myself and measure what I should do. But I'm still gonna kill you.
Oh yeah.
I'm still gonna do it. But the outcome review, I think its greatest purpose and its greatest purpose in this exercise, Keegan, is to sit down and think about, if I make this decision, how will it affect me? Not 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years down the road. How will it affect the people around me? And how will it affect you ultimately? And how will it make you feel as a person? And if you can answer those questions, I think you can come out with a better decision, because all this is stopping for a second, Keegan. How many decisions have you made and reactions that got you in trouble, Keegan? I'm sure a lot. I'm sure, we all have done it in relationships, with our money, with our friends, just day by day things that we make reactions on. And I think we're in a time now, Keegan, we can't afford to be making reactions, bro. We have to have solid responses.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because we at war right now. We're battling spiritual things right now. We're in an inflated society, a recession. We need leaders right now to respond to this chaos, man. Keegan, what do you think about the outcome review? How do you view it, man?
I mean, I like it. I think the first thing it makes you do is slow down.
There you go.
Right. And I always talk about, this phrase that I got is, and I told you before, measure twice, cut once.
Come on, Keegan.
And when you do that, it makes you slow down and think through, what am I about to do?
Yes.
So I can think about what's going to be the consequences.
Yes.
Can I actually pay that cost? Right. And if I can, go for it, my man.
Yeah.
But if I can't, think twice.
Absolutely.
And so I think whenever you can slow down and cooler heads prevail and let your mind be the tool you use versus your bicep, I think you'll be in much better shape anytime.
Absolutely. Ivan, what does healthy responses look like? How can we start to move away? Because there's times you're gonna react, but there's times that we have to have solid responses to things versus reactions.
A solid response is it's literally just you really just got to pace yourself. You got to slow down. It requires you getting outside of yourself, because being set up and being in this human body, it's a nature.
It is.
It's a nature.
It's carnal.
It's
very carnal.
You don't even realize how much of a nature it is until it just happens. Right. And so you really have to slow down, get yourself outside of this part of you and dig deeper to know who you really are. Because it's one of those things like it's easy to fly off the handle. It's much harder to come up with a solid solution. And so it really comes down to just slowing down and being purposeful about what it is.
And
especially,
go ahead.
Especially in the face of challenge.
That's good. That's
right.
good.
So when you're in the face of challenge, you kind of want to fly off the handle based on what's going on in front of you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it requires a lot of patience, a lot of wisdom to say, hold. Let me just take a step back.
Right.
Because I heard my this goes back a while. My grandmother, she said, never fight a pig, because you both get dirty and only one of you like the mud.
That's good.
And so you have to slow down sometimes.
You do.
That's good.
You have to slow down. No matter what's going on, no matter what the challenge is, no matter what they're saying, what they're doing, just slow down.
That's good.
Take a breath, because more often than not, you got too much to lose.
You do. And this process, the outcome review, it came from my children. Because every parent knows this. Your kids will drive you crazy. I got 4 little girls, bro. Listen, trust me, bro. I got 3 of them older. One is a newborn. And listen, they are some wild links. And they are active, and they go, and they move, and their energy is high. And when I looked at, especially my little girl, River, she the one. She different. She the one, bro. And she challenges the house, because she don't do what anybody tell her to do. She a 3-nager, bro. I'm telling you, she is 3. I'll say 3-year-olds are worse than 2-year-olds. I don't know that terrible 2 stuff. That's a thing of the past. It's 3-nagers now, bro, guy. I'm telling you right now, that 3, she turned different.
You said 3-nagers?
3-nagers, bro. So River is her own self. If you sat down with her, I'm telling you, she's incredible. She's an incredible communicator, but bro, she don't Take note. So I have to learn that growing up in the household, everything was reaction. Do this, sit down, go sit down. That's what they told us to do. Go sit down, be quiet. Just quit, just spank you. They don't work like that now.
Yeah.
You'll be in jail for the stuff I wanted to do to my daughter for this. Absolutely. I'd have been in jail, you know. I'm for real. Straight up. I didn't want to throw her. I'm for real. I said, I see how people do it now. I do. No cap. I see how people do it. Parenting is a shit show.
It is.
It's certified. I'm realizing that now. So River challenges my patience. And I hadn't had no patience. And what I was able to see was me.
That's all it is. That's all you're doing is looking at yourself.
That's all I was doing.
Yep.
And it made me say, Lord have mercy. So what I'm going to do, beat myself? Because she acting like me.
You know what you should do?
Yeah.
You should call your mother and say, Mommy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For everything I put you through, I am sorry. Because you're getting it now, bro. You're getting it. I'm telling you.
You know, I had to start to, because I would be boiling on the inside. I'm like, girl, if you don't like on the inside, but I had to learn with the help of my wife. I had to learn like she's 3. You know, she's acting like that. She don't know any other way to act. And what if I start reacting on her and putting my frustration because I don't want to be bothered? All she's doing is going through emotions she don't understand right now. Yeah. She don't know that this gonna harm her. It's my job to guide her, not to keep reacting, but make responses. I'm the older one. I'm the wiser one. So why am I acting like her? Why am I having a screaming match with a 3-year-old? And as parents, you get fed up and you start doing it. You want to exert your power. You want to exert your strength. But sometimes I had to realize, okay, I'm smarter than you. You 3, you smart, but you're not smarter than me right now. So I had to outsmart her. I don't lie to her, but I have to outsmart her and give her something or redirect her focus. That was my response. My reaction is screaming and hollering. Go sit down. Sometimes that's necessary. I'm gonna be honest with you. Go sit your tail down. Like we call kids chaps where I'm from.
Okay.
We call them chaps. You from South? You know?
I never been
You never heard chaps?
Nah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, chaps is a thing.
Come on, you never heard chaps?
A friend of mine was just asking me the other day. She's from New Orleans, and she was like,
Baby.
yeah, for real. She was like, chaps, you know what I'm saying? When I always heard that, it was always a well-dressed young man. It was like, no, you call kids chaps.
Really?
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Seriously?
No, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
You gotta remember, I was up top.
He was up top.
Until I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
So, I heard a lot of other words.
Herbs.
I would call curse words. To be honest with you. I was a bad kid. I ain't gonna sit here and lie. That's why you should call your mother. Cause I know what I was not a kid. I was a bad kid, bro.
So yeah, man, and kids, they just challenge, you know, they just show you who you are, and it's up to you to accept the challenge with them. And that's where this exercise came from for me, because, you know, nobody's going to be a perfect father or a perfect mother, but, you know, giving your children a healthy space to come up in is going to be dependent on who you are, because you can't teach something that you're not. How you going to teach them about this and you're not that? You have to, kids do not do what you say. They do what you do.
No question.
Oh my goodness. I never, when my mama used to say that, like you said, my mama used to say that to me. I never understood the weight of that at seeing my children. Now that my children are getting older, I know you see with your boys, and I know you see with your boy and your girl that, oh my goodness, everything you mimic. And sometimes it ain't a negative thing either, Keegan. Sometimes there's really great parents out there that kids has modeled good behavior. So, you know, there can be a blueprint set, good or bad. But what I'm talking about with the outcome review is you taking your time and saying,
And you know, Steve, one of the biggest things about that when having children is it's absolutely knowing what it is that you need. See, we think it's more about putting them in correction, but it's more about putting us in it.
that's good.
Because that's when that challenge comes up. You've gotten to this point in your life. Who can tell you what to do at this point? Who? And so you're thinking like,
Because you were talking crazy earlier, and we couldn't talk you out of it. But go ahead.
He was dogmatic. He was very dogmatic.
You were talking crazy stuff.
Yeah, he was very dogmatic. Yes, he was.
Tim should have cut the damn camera. Go ahead.
I was just telling the truth.
But go ahead.
LeBron James, I think you're phenomenal. but you know, like it's about, because at that point in life, who is actually making the corrections about you? So now when you get this child that does things that you used to do, now it makes you find out, wow, that temperament that I thought that I actually really had simmered down, or I just got through life with it, now I have to change the behavior.
That's good.
And so I really feel like it's more about the correcting of you than it is about them.
Man,
Because they're going to grow into that place.
they are.
And then they might actually see the exact same repeat.
Man,
So,
listen,
you know.
that is, and I think, man, you know, because I talked about this on the chat a little bit while I put it in the topics, that the nature of progress does require sacrifice. And this requires you, Keegan, to, as a father, you know, you had to sacrifice a lot for your children, Keegan. You think about it. You can tell this, but Keegan, you had to work. When you first had your daughter, tell that story. What does your work schedule look like? Because where you are now and where you are then are two totally different places.
Yes.
But you knew you wanted progress to happen, but something had to be sacrificed in order. And that was completely the depth of your time, correct?
Yes. And it was time, and it was my life. So I was going to school full time, taking anywhere from, on the low side, 15 hours per semester, to on the high side, I took an overload one semester at 21 hours. So I was in school full time, working 2 jobs.
Wow.
I was working at a telemarketing company, and I was an insurance agent as well. And because I got kicked out of college because I was a bad kid, and got back in. So I was older when I got back into college. I was in my 20s. And so, yeah, I was an insurance agent, working at a telemarketing firm, and going to school full time. So pretty much I got up at the crack of dawn, and my day ended between 1 in the morning, a couple of hours of sleep, got right back at it. And that was the everyday thing to make sure that, one, I was getting through school so I can get to my next goal in life. Also make sure we have food in the pantry and clothes on the kids' back, you know. And so it was a lot. And, you know, and I can tell you, even after college, you know, getting into my career, going to grad school, same thing, working full time and going to grad school full time. So those days were investments, you know, and I know the word sacrifice is the correct word to use, but when it comes to your children, that word doesn't exist.
That's good, Keegan.
Like, you would do whatever you got to do for your kids.
Absolutely.
Like, and I mean, whether it's legal or illegal, my kid's not going to starve.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple as
You
that.
said legal, but I'm just saying absolutely.
No, I'm saying legal and
Just
illegal.
make
I'm
sure
just being
kids
clear.
start, yeah. I would too.
I mean, I ain't putting my crime on no rap songs.
Yeah.
You know, but but I would tell you, like, for me, when you have children, I think every parent knows when you have children, the word sacrifice does not exist.
Absolutely.
You're not
Absolutely.
gonna do it to kids.
Absolutely.
And you get more ingratiated in their progress because you know the time was a sacrifice for you.
It was, because there was no Keegan time.
It was no Keegan
There
time.
was no Teresa time. There was no time for me, at the time, my girlfriend. You know, it was not even no time for me and my daughter, because it was school, work, sleep. School, work, sleep. Pretty much 5 days a week. And then when weekend hit, you're trying to catch up on work and stuff like that for your classes. So I had to rest. And I crashed quite a few times.
Wow.
Like my body gave out on me because I was just going so hard. But to me, it was for my future, it's for my kid, for my daughter. And so it to me, it was like, it wasn't even a negotiation.
Yeah.
It's what had to be done.
Because you understood the moment and
Yes.
what it was going to require to do. And sometimes our perspective gets skewed on progress.
Yeah.
And it because we don't understand, something has to die in order for something to live.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Fair point.
That's good.
That's why I said
That's good.
the depth of your time.
Yeah,
It was
that's
the depth. You had to, because what is our most important asset right now, Ivan?
Time.
As we sit here.
Time.
Time. That's the most important thing we got right now. I don't care what you got. Listen, even the poor man, he got time.
Yeah.
And when you got time, you got an opportunity. So, tell me a little bit about, man, what you've had to sacrifice in order to achieve progress in any area.
I remember when it was one of my first goals, the very first goals that I had. I was still a kid living at home, and I was hell bent on buying an Acura Integra for my first car. And everybody around.
I know
me
you
was
didn't get it if it was anything like the LeBron baby. Go ahead.
But it was so funny because I had so many other people around me saying, "Oh boy, you can't do that. You ain't gonna ever do that. You can't do that." Mm-hmm. And I remember doing so many unusual things. Like, I'm 18 years old. Instead of sleeping in my bed, I slept on the floor. I didn't watch TV for months. And I just worked and worked and worked because it wasn't so much of just proving it to other people. I had to prove it to me. And when I actually, you know what I'm saying, and when I did listen to something, it was nothing but motivational speakers. I was 18 years old doing that. And it was interesting because everybody around me, all my friends was like, "You good? Like, are you good?" But it was about those sacrifices in those moments, doing something to obtain a goal so that you know that you can actually meet a goal. And so that's what it's about when it comes to sacrifice. When I think about one of the very first times that I've had to sacrifice, sacrificing sleep, sacrificing my time to be able to obtain a goal. Now, was it the right focus? No, it wasn't the right focus because I was focused on getting something material. But did it get, what was the intentions good? Yes, because it was more about focusing on obtaining the goal, not obtaining the prize.
Keegan, let me ask you this question. I don't know if you ever did an assessment of this, but did you gain more than, I know you gained a lot, but do you feel like you lost anything during that time? I know you lost time,
Yes.
but do you feel like it changed you? Did it shape you in a certain way that you had? Because that's a lot. I don't know. You talked about it in the span of 2 minutes, but if people really digest what you just said, the most important thing you say you didn't have time for was yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you was lost in all of that.
Or my loved ones.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
But your loved ones, they still got the benefit of your provision and they got something from you. But what I'm saying is you had nothing to give you. You wasn't even on a menu. Let's put it like that.
No, that's a fact.
So how did that fare? Let's talk about that for a second.
So you're correct. I never got my well filled. Now, at the time, Teresa took a lot off of my plate in order for me to do so. So partnership was paramount at that time because without her, then I couldn't have done what I did. But I would say when you talk about time, I'm going to say this, 'cause you made a great point about what you're using your time for to pursue, right? I can't get those days back.
Yeah, that's good.
You will never get back June 17, 2022.
Well,
it's done.
It's over.
Right.
Finito.
Yeah. So no matter what you spent your time on given in that day, make sure that you got to do what you wanted to do because you'll never get it again. Right. Mm-hmm. So yes, I did put seed in the ground that gave me a harvest that's been really, really good for me. I'll be honest with you. But I have to believe this from a faith perspective. If I would have worked less hard or really slowed down my efforts at that time, I think God's provision would have still been there for me to go get.
That's good.
And I would have spent more time with my child.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
So that's hindsight 2020.
Absolutely.
And always 2020 at that particular point. I couldn't see it then.
Yeah.
Right? So I do believe I lost a lot from a time perspective in that way, right, that I cannot get back. And in terms of myself, my well was never poured into just because of what I was doing. No one could, but God sustained me. Now my body also let me know when I was going too far and too hard. I did shut down a couple of times. I'd say let me sit down because headaches, stress, all that stuff. Couldn't breathe certain days because I was going hard. because I was trying to get out of school because I lost 2.5 years when I got kicked out. So I did give up a lot, but I knew what I was doing it for. But if I would have had the faith today, back then, I would have did things differently. Now that doesn't mean I have regrets.
No,
I don't have regrets. But if I could have did it all again, I would have did it a little bit different.
And you know, one of the biggest things to that, just to piggyback off of what Keegan said, because in time, more wisdom.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In time, more knowledge.
Absolutely.
And the application of that knowledge is wisdom. And so, yeah, there's some things that we would do differently.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's some things that we'll do differently. And the best thing about that is knowing that if you had done them differently, God's provision still would have
been there.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest thing about that. But sometimes you don't know that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's because you don't have that faith. I didn't have my faith was not there at that point in time. I didn't join the church until 2003, so I was not there spiritually in that time of my life. So I could not see what He had for me. But if I could have, trust me, I probably would not have worked as hard as I did.
And you know, and that's why I wanted to see it both ways, because you know you do get rewards, but you also have scars.
Yes, sir.
You know,
Absolutely.
every battle, every war, you have scars. You have to fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like right here, you know, I tell my kids I was in a gang fight, but what really happened is I fell on a lawnmower blade right here. But I still got that scar. I still got the scar, so I just lied to them to make them think that I'm tougher than what I really am. They don't know the difference. They just think I'm Superman.
But sometimes it's funny. But sometimes those rewards are because of the scars.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you got to go through some stuff.
Because we talked about being healed. That's the last subject. We talked about being healed. That being healed is a process.
Yes. Yes.
You know, you think you healed until you're not. You think I'm okay.
Yeah.
You think I'm okay because I was an unhealed person in certain areas of my life. And let's say this, when we say people are unhealed, let's stop blanketing their whole life.
True.
People have healthy parts of their life.
Yes.
People aren't broken in every part of their life. That's what I'm saying. We got to start approaching each other in a pragmatic way, especially in the spiritual community. Like if we're dealing with people, let's stop saying you're broken. No, this part of you is broken, but this part of you may be absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how, you know, with me, Keegan, you know, thinking about certain areas I wasn't healed in until I thought I had a plan until I got hit in the mouth with that unhealed spot.
Yeah.
With that spot that I ignored, because sometimes we ignore the scars. We ignore the wounds that's sitting right there on our arm, but we don't want to do it because it's easier. Because sometimes your unhealedness doesn't affect the area in your life, you'll ignore it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just going on, hey, that hurt nothing until it does.
And if it's not surface level, you can hide it. Oh yeah. If I can hide it, I am.
So let me give you the damage of an unhealed person. Set me back 4 or 5 years in life.
I can attest to that.
Cause I was unhealed. Because you don't see one action. That's why I talked about everything I talked about tonight. Because one action can lead to a myriad of reactions.
Absolutely.
That can just a domino effect the shit out of your life. Excuse me, mama. And now you trying to pick up the pieces because now here comes the confusion. And who's the author of confusion?
Yeah.
It ain't God.
It ain't God.
It ain't God.
So now you're confused because that's where we spend most of our time in the wilderness because we're unhealed and we don't want to admit that we need to be healed, especially men.
No question.
Well, and unfortunately, a lot of that boastfulness and egotistical way of approach is because we were trained to do that.
Yeah.
We were trained to do that in some cases.
Yeah.
Not all, but in a lot of cases we were trained to suppress that part. It's like, oh man, don't worry about that. But he says that I will be perfect strength in your weakness.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Men are scared to be weak because they don't know the outcome.
True.
Vulnerability is tough for so many men out here. Vulnerability is tough because it exposes you. Because now you're subject to criticism. Now we've built this male bravado. You got to be this, and this. If you say these words, I'm going to say pause. Like, you can't go here. You can't say this. You know, I'm with some of the man laws. I'm going to be honest with you. There's certain shit we just ain't going to do. I'm going to be honest with you. Go ahead and call me egotistical on that. I got some of that. So, because I've been on both ends of it.
Big old misogynist. I get it.
I'm I'm a recovering misogynist.
You recovering?
I'm just kidding.
You go to MA? You go to MA meetings?
I'm not really a misogynist. I got ego. I got ego. I think I got an ego. I think I got an ego, and I think that's where I realized that's where the unhealed parts was. Because my ego, here's what my ego did. My ego made me the best in every category that I did. That. So let me say this. My ego made me great at football. My ego made me great in the workplace until it didn't. See, and when I got to a place in a relationship or in a marriage to where my ego was going to be adverse to the success of that thing. Egos don't work in marriage. And I found out the hard way. Yeah. It just doesn't. Especially for a man in this day and age. It doesn't. The old misogynistic way of doing it, that don't work. Yeah. Whether fair, unfair, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about it just don't work in a marriage. And so my ego was able to get me over. That's why being a competitor, or what we say, get up and do it again. What the coach tell you? Get up and do it again.
But you know, one of the things that I've learned from our women, from our amazing black women, is there's so much strength in your vulnerability. That's how they end up getting so strong. Absolutely. Because they actually get to the place of being able to go through those times where they absolutely have to be vulnerable. And through that vulnerability, I feel like there's a place of invisibility. Yeah. So yeah, it's just it's a different level of strength. It doesn't feel good though.
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel good.
And you feel naked, and that's why Adam and Eve, they said, God, "Who told you you were naked?" You know, we still, God still asking that same question to us. Who told you you was naked, Keegan? You can come to me, bro. You bugging. Come on, what you doing? I'm not just we just be conjuring up stuff in our head. But come on, bro. You can come to the throne of grace. Like it's real, man. We got another before we go, man. It's on my heart. I get back to praying. Praying for each other.
No question. Yeah.
I get everybody, all the religions. We do all the different things, but man, praying works.
Absolutely.
It works. And it humbles the spirit is what I'm saying. Because when you pray, God will let you know you ain't healed in the area. Because that's how I got to know that, oops, I'm broken in this area. Yeah. I'm very, very broken in this particular area, and I need help. And you know where that came through prayer.
But also too, Steve, and not say this is, I will say this as a man, it's a man issue. I don't know if women have the same issue. I'm not coming at a woman, but we misdefine healing as an event versus a journey.
It is.
Sometimes you gotta continue to heal in a consistent way. It ain't an event.
It's not.
Some things you can you get repaired and you move on from. Yeah. But some things you have to continue to heal with as you grow and evolve.
I'm still grieving the wound.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't got to the healing part yet. Yeah. I haven't even got there yet. Because I was so shocked. I was like, oh my God. Because now it's surgery been done on me now. Now we got to take out all the, it's hurts. Because now like, oh, I'm embarrassed by this. Oh, I'm ashamed of this. I'm experiencing all these different emotions right now. The process of grieving, right?
Yeah, no question.
It's the process of grieving.
And so when you're going through that process of healing, if you walk into it thinking it was supposed to be an event, then you're like, okay, this is not done yet. Or I'm not going to continue down this path of treatment anymore, right? And you forget now you don't walk from the treatment that's helping you. And so I think that you got to understand sometimes it's not an event, it's a journey, and that is okay. Some people will leave this earth still going through a healing process.
Absolutely.
And as long as they know they're still on that journey, they will be okay.
And I think we're all going to always. I think there'll always be afflictions. There'll always be unhealed areas. I think recognizing your unhealed areas helps you self-awareness.
That's the first step.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
I think really you being aware of it, because when you're aware of it, going back to the outcome review, you might make the bad decision, but at least you made a calculated bad decision.
Yes.
There's a such thing as that, Ivan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to make a bad decision, but I ain't going to go too far.
Yeah.
Because people going to make the bad decision. We always try to teach people how to make good decisions. Man, you need to learn how to make a bad decision right, too.
Oh, no, Steve, sometimes you can do your work, do your assessment, make a decision, it just don't get the result that you thought it should get.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yes.
That can happen. And what you can't do is go into the room and say, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, and have these self-deprecating experiences. Nah, that can happen. Go back to the drawing board, get back to work. That's all you got to do is get back to work.
Yeah.
Because that can happen to you.
But and it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let me replace bad for wrong, like you said, because the wrong. Sometimes you're gonna do the wrong thing, but make sure you protect your family. Make sure you protect the people if you're gonna do that. And that's why I believe having an outcome review and just thinking about it's nothing deep, it's nothing life changing, but it's just reaction versus responses.
Yes.
Because we need to be healed, and the nature it requires when we're going through that requirement for sacrifice, Ivan, that we talked about earlier, man. What does it look like if you was a healed person making that sacrifice now? Now you strategically know how to make that sacrifice. You wouldn't kill your time. You would just say, okay, I'm gonna put you on the shelf for a few hours and I gotta make this, and you'll use your brain. Because we're in an age now, man, work smarter, not harder. Period, point blank. The hustle and bustle, all it's doing is making us constant reactors. All it's doing is teaching us how to operate and function. Robotic and function in chaos. That's all we're doing. This. We never sit down and have a conversation. Go over your friend's house. Let's start back having cookouts. Let's start back having get-togethers. Let's start getting with your friends, doing things, man, so you can learn the essence of life. Because life don't cost a lot if you do it right.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things that we miss, and I know none of us will die not being able to understand that key, but really this whole thing was about exchanging energy with one another.
Yes,
it was. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, and so. Yeah, we should definitely be, admirations about the things that we want to get to. We should be ambitious about those things that we want to get to. But it's really about the energy exchange that we have with one another that's going to really matter when this is all said.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And that's with your friends, family, and the things that you know that you do best at. And I think one of the things, and as a conversation that we was having earlier this week, there's so many of those things that are always going on that keeps you from being able to be the best parts of you.
Yes.
The level of excellence that you can absolutely be. Because if I can busy you long enough, I can shrink you.
Distractions.
Yeah.
Because your mind is constantly going. Where's your creativity coming in? How are you able to be creative? Like, I believe that Tim is just as good as producers as anybody anywhere. If Tim had 8 hours a day to do this all day long, my goodness.
Yeah. You
get what I'm saying? People have to do their passions part-time and do a job full-time. People are starting to wake up to that, and they're starting to change that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying corporate America is bad for some people. Is bad for everybody, but what I am saying is people are waking up to their creativity.
Yeah.
And people are starting to learn how to monetize their creativity, because creativity and art is what God gave us. And that's the ultimate thing that replenishes the world, replenishes the earth, our creativity and our art.
Yes.
Our ability to translate that, not doing some job from somebody else who don't care about us. And I think that's the thing that people get frustrated about, and it kills. And it does. We do have that creativity cap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gets so suppressed, and most people don't know it's really down to the science. They know that your most productive hours are from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., which is why our work schedules work the way that they do.
Even second shift.
It's like they, and so if I can get you to create for me, now I can go and create the future that I really want.
Absolutely, man. So, man, fellas, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Unbelievable conversation, man. And I think, we continue to grow and share our experiences, because ultimately when you share your experiences, man, with people, it's not about you being an authoritarian or you got it right. It's being vulnerable. It's when you be vulnerable, man, you don't know how many people are going through what they're going through.
Yeah.
You don't know what people are really dealing with. And you don't want to not using your gift. You don't want to not use your gift betting on the fact that they're not going through it.
Right.
That they're just complaining.
Yeah.
People are dealing with a lot of stuff. And we and leaders of this generation, we got to stand up and be selfless. You know, that's hard. Caring. What if they don't care? What do you do then? You get what I'm saying? Like this why you have to learn how to manage your emotions. That's why I talked about on the last podcast, we can't tolerate our emotions or ignore them as men, because if we're going to be leaders, we got to know what we're dealing with. When we feel something, how do we react or respond to it? When we're going through something, how do we make the best decision? We've only been taught how to make decisions out of provision. Financial. We know how to do that. But do we know how to control ourselves in situation? Do we know how to calm that lion down in us? Do we know when to use it? Those things are important for us to become truly, not materially successful, spiritually successful, socially successful.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no more, we getting rid of friends. Man, you can't be forward to getting rid of friends, bro. Like we have a social issue where we always getting rid of somebody, where we on to the next person every year. There's always a new person. And then when I see your meme next, then there's another person. How many people are you going to keep getting rid of out of your life? That's a problem.
Yeah,
That's a problem. We keep reacting to things. Like you going to go through things in friendship. You're going to get mad at people in friendships. You're going to get mad at people in relationships. Some things are toxic you can't stay in. I get that.
Yeah.
But learn the art of distance.
Yeah.
No question.
I love your ass. Way over there. Man, I love you over there. I do. Just stay over there.
Facts.
And that's what Keegan, knowing yourself, doing it your way, making sure you understand the nuances of what you want to do. But guys, listen.
Yeah.
This was a great podcast.
Yes, sir.
My goodness. Steph Curry didn't win the chip.
Yes, sir.
Steph Curry did win the chip.
Yes,
so
sir.
Congratulations. Man, you guys subscribe to us on YouTube and on Instagram, Deep Surface Pod on both of them, guys. We thank you for your continuing participation. And guys, we are going to get better and better and better. We thank you for your support. God bless you.